give people a few minutes before we start.
How long should this take? I know. Waiting for them.
Minutes. Welcome, Rose.
Thank you.
Haribo, you're just waiting for the rest.
Just like 5 minutes then you start. Okay, I think we can just start. The rest will.
Yeah, so hi. Yeah, so we'll start with a word of prayer. So let's believe and pray. Kind and ever living Master out in heaven, we come before you this amazing, wonderful evening. We thank you for the gift of life and the gift of this opportunity that you've given unto us so that we'll be able to learn. I pray that you may be able to help us and see us throughout this meeting. Was I pray this short and humble prayer, trusting and believing in the name of God, the name of our Savior Jesus Christ, our Lord and Savior. Amen.
Amen. Amen. Thank you very
Amen.
much. All that have joined us, Karibu, you see our numbers are still growing. I'm Tea Atinda, I'll be your co-host today with Akinyi Odwar. So, the reason why we're actually doing this is to empower everybody with knowledge so that we can be able to make informed decisions in regards to auto care. So this is our second webinar. The first one we did early May, which was about road safety, and people were really inspired and got to learn a lot of stuff about road safety. So we welcome you everybody into this community, and we believe by the end of this webinar we'll have learned a lot from our guest speaker. So let me introduce to you Autovine. Autovine is an online shop that sells auto parts in an online platform whereby we try to ensure we're conveniently able to get your parts from wherever you are in the country. So let me just play a video, but you'll be able to at least get a brief understanding of what we do at Autovine. Oh, thank you. Hope you've gotten an idea of what we do at Autovine. So we'll, nice, welcome. You can see Jackie, Charity, Rose, Karibuni sana. Aaron is coming in also. Yeah, so we'll move to the next session, whereby I'll request my co-host to lead us.
Okay, in the next session, we'll be talking about the different scenarios that we might have in real life, but concerning our tires. So I'll be sharing my screen. Just a minute. Is everyone able to see my screen? I can see you. Okay, thank you. Okay, so the power of your tires. So I'm going to give you the first scenario. So for example, in a case scenario, you're traveling maybe a country and you're alone, and then you get a puncture, a flat tire, and it's late at night in the middle of nowhere. So I would want to ask, what would you do if you get yourself in such a scenario, or if you've ever been in such a scenario? What did you do, or what can you do? So yeah, in these scenarios, there's no right or wrong answer. Any answer you come up with, it just depends on what you you consider or what you do. So people will definitely do different things. So, but there is no right or wrong answer. So I just want to give a chance to one of our participants or to tell us if they get themselves in such a scenario, what will they do? Or if they have been in such a scenario, what did they do?
Yeah, this will be very interactive, so you can all share our answers.
Somebody raised their hand already.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so you can just unmute yourself and talk. I think that's way easier than chat than writing in the chat box. So yeah, if you have okay.
Good evening, everyone. I've never been in such a situation, but from what I learned from driving school, if you're in such a scenario, you're supposed to barricade the road. And then when other oncoming vehicles are carrying your spot, is when you can ask for help from other cars. There have to be a lot of cars, not just one car, because you never know, you might get kidnapped. So yeah, that's what I think I'd do. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Rose, for sharing that. So any other person with another different answer or a different thought? I can personally share what I can do. I've also never found myself in such a scenario. But if I do, first I think I'll think of my safety first. So of course I'll try ask for help by one as Rose said, that maybe you try and see the oncoming vehicles and see if you can ask for help from any of them, or if I have contacts, which maybe not, because it's the middle of nowhere, so you can see what to do. Maybe you can try and figure out which town you're next to, and yeah, maybe if you have any contacts there, yeah, maybe ask for help from there. Or I can also yeah, majorly that. I'll just try and figure out how to ask for help and get myself into safety first before anything else. Yeah. So that's
okay. Okay, I just want to share an experience that I had similar to what happened. At the time I was actually traveling to Mombasa, and it was at around 3 a.m. I got a puncture, and you can imagine I was somewhere in the man eaters, that location where the lion eaters are actually the man eaters, and luckily luckily we were I had another colleague who was also driving, and he was able to come and help me, the fix the tire, fix the spare wheel that I had. So I think in such a situation, safety comes first. If you're alone, you'd rather, I think you'd rather just stay in the vehicle. Let's say it's at night. You'd rather be safe. You can do these things later, probably in the morning. So for me, I can say luckily I had someone else who was driving, so it was easier for me to get to replace the spare wheel.
Thank you so much for sharing, Tinda. Anyone with any other thought would want to share what they would have done in such a scenario before we go to the next one? Okay, if there's no one, then I'll go to the next scenario. Yeah, so that's our second scenario. It's quite similar to the first, but now this time you're going on a road trip with your friends, and you've hired a car, and you get yourself into a you get a puncture. You just hit a pothole, and then the tire just blows out. And then so what we did is just scenario. So remember, this time you have friends around, and yeah, but remember also the car is not yours. So in such a scenario, what would you do? So anyone else would want to share what they would do in such a scenario? can see you.
Karibu, I can see more participants are coming in. Karibuni sana, Andreas.
Or thank you. Charity, or is it Jackie? Are you able to share what you would do if you find yourself in such a scenario? Okay. So as I said, it's if you're going on a road trip with your friends and then you had a car and then hit a portal and then you get up the tire blows out. So what should you do if you find yourself in such a scenario? Let me start by sharing what I will do. Personally, what I will do is, well, I think I will contact the owner of the car and maybe agree and just tell him or her what has happened and maybe agree on what step you're going to take. So either if he has a spare tire, maybe in the car, we can use that spare and change it and maybe try and fix or maybe get another tire for the owner later on, depending on what we agree on what we've agreed after the call. So yeah, so that's what I would have done. So any other person with another answer or another thought on what they will do if they find themselves in such a scenario?
Okay, I guess any answer is okay.
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, for me, I think what I will do is, first of all, I will take responsibility in ensuring that I change the tire. If there is an extra tire, then maybe later on inform the owner of the car about it, just as a matter of like trying to take responsibility, I guess. But I'll still like follow the procedure you said, but maybe I will change it and make sure that everything's okay, then let them know. I don't know. That's probably what I'll do.
Thank you so much for that, Andreas.
Yeah.
Okay, any other person who has another thought? Thank you. Before I move on to the next one.
Thank you very much. I came late.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah, I would like to, actually, I've had a similar experience. I rented a car and I was driving up country and I had a similar problem. Like on the way, I think one of them blew, and then after that, I had to replace it. When I went back to the owner, the owner was like, "I gave you a car in good condition, so that is your beef. You should sort it out." So sometimes you find yourself in that situation. And most of the people rent out cars. It is your problem, because if I give you a car in good condition, that's not my business. So I think maybe it is also important, before you rent a car, you also need to check the condition of those tires. Thank you.
Before you finish, okay. Did you have to pay all of it, or did you have to pay did you have to get a new tire for him, or did you agree maybe you get a certain amount of it and maybe it's going to finish up the other amount?
Actually, I had to buy a second-hand tire because it's not my car.
Okay.
So I just gambled and bought a second, because even if you go back, he'll not give you back your money, because when you leave point A and you're going to point B, that means you have to pay the full amount. So even when you come back and you start telling him stories, most of the time they don't even listen. They say, "I gave you a car in good condition. That is your problem."
Thank you so much for sharing, Aaron. Okay, I'm going to go to the next scenario. Hope I'm not closing anyone out. Okay. Our next scenario, yeah, it's not quite similar, but it's when you're buying a second-hand car. So maybe the car had just stayed there for a while. No one had used it maybe for a period of over like a year or so. And then maybe when you're trying to test the car, maybe you're saying like, let me test the car and see if it's in a good condition currently. So then when you do that, yeah, you get another puncture or just you get a deflammation of the tires. So what will you look at when getting the new tire? So yeah, what will you look at when getting the new tire for the car was the car that you're planning to buy? What will you be looking at, or what will you consider when getting the new tires? Anyone would want to share what they will look at or what they look at when getting a new tire?
I think you need to check the date of manufacture of the date those tires were manufactured, because if it's a long time, that means there are higher risks of getting older tires, which will put you in a bigger risk. And then you also need to check the condition. That means you can actually use physical assessment. You check if they have any swellings. You can check even from inside and also the outside with your eyes. But remember, if a car has stalled for a very long time, there are risks.
Thank you so much for sharing, Aaron. So you're looking at the condition of the car physically by observing them using your eyes, or you can also look the date of manufactured, when they were manufactured, and yeah, maybe that would help you get new tires or other pairs of tires. Any other thing that you will look at or you'll consider when getting new tires? Anyone with another thought? Okay, if no one has any other thought, I'm going to finish with our last one. Our last scenario is yeah, so when you suspect your tire that they're not in good condition, then you decide that you're going to be changing your tires on your own. So you've never done that before, so you're doing it for your first time. So you don't have like you have like the background or basic idea or what or not to do. But when you try do that and then you end up not doing it the right way, and now you end up now having a tire burst. So what could have been the possible cause of the tire burst? Anyone would want to share what could have been the possible cause of the tire burst?
You can even chat if we are shy of talking. We can share our thoughts there also.
Yeah, if you maybe do not want to talk and you prefer chatting, you can do that, and then my host will be able to see that and will be able to voice it out. So when changing a tire, and then then you do not do it in a maybe then you get a tire burst immediately after. What can be the possible cause of the tire burst? That's my question.
Nice, I can see Rose. You said excess air pressure. Good one.
Sorry, come up again.
Excess air pressure.
Excess air pressure.
Yeah. That could be a cause also. Worn out tires.
Worn out tires. Thank you.
Well, good. Thank you. Yeah, I think for worn out tires, we at times we've also experienced. I'm sure if you've driven in these roads of Kenya, you've had issues with cops, especially if you have worn out tires. So at times, most of us we don't do these things because of the cops only. At times, it's because of our own safety. So a tire burst can cause a serious accident. So I think, yeah, that's a good answer. Worn out tires.
Worn out tires. Okay, thank you so much, everyone, for sharing your thoughts on these scenarios. So that's the end of my scenarios. Yeah, so we will have maybe questions later at the end of the presentation. But for now, that's it for me. Thank you so much for sharing your thoughts. Yeah, so back to you, Atinda.
Right, thank you. Thank you very much for that session. So I'll just continue to introduce our guest speaker, Elmond. He's from Auto Express. He's the National Service Supervisor. And he's one guy that I know is very experienced in this industry. He's been in the auto industry for more than 10 years. So he has so much knowledge that he's going to share with us. I'm sure we're going to learn so much from him. So if you have a notebook you want to write somewhere, feel comfortable. It's going to be a very interactive session. So if you have any questions also, you can share them on the chat so that when he's done, we can get to ask him. Yeah, and I just want also to promote a program that we have. It's called Master Your Car. Let me just mirror the poster so that you can be able to see it. In case, yeah, it's a 2-week program whereby you don't need any mechanical knowledge for you to join, and this is meant to give you so that you can be able to understand your vehicle, so that you can understand why do we have to do service. And it will also help you, get to know all the costs in the vehicle. There are some unseen costs. And if you're also planning to buy a vehicle, what are those costs that you're going to incur? There's insurance and all that. We're going to study all that. So I just want to welcome you all. If you know anybody who would be interested. And for those who've signed up today, I'm giving you a discount of 3,500. Feel free. We start every Wednesday. So karibuni sana. So I'll take it back to Elmond. Yeah, karibu Elmond.
Thanks so much, Dave. My name is Elmond, as is put it. Now, I think so much for the introduction. You talked of 10 years, but then I think it's somewhere close anyway. Not for sure in the tire industry, but then different fields, but then within the motor industry. Fine. We'll just go directly into the topic that you had been shared with, and I'll just share my screen. And it's all about how tires can reduce fuel economy. Okay. Now, of course, in this day and age, like our current economy, there's so much about prices have been going up, and of that, you will want to think of trying to maximize on the fuel that on the little fuel maybe they got. So first, before we go into the topic itself, or discussing about how to reduce how to have your tires reduce fuel economy, we want to understand what are the functions of a tire in the first place. So, because most people will just take a tire as maybe around a black round stuff or something, because that's the kind of trainings we've been having ourselves within our staff. Somebody will just define a tire as something round in black, and even then ask yourself why tires are black, but that's a different topic. So basically, a tire is what supports the weight of the vehicle. That's the primary function. I would say the primary. So all these are equally important. So in supporting the vehicle's weight, that's why you have to be careful about, because fine, this vehicle is what carries you. So again, you have to be really careful to know what kind of tires you are running on. Again, something else, transferring traction and braking forces. Now, at one point now you've supported the weight. Now this vehicle is to move from point A to point B. That traction, you have to gain the traction on the road, and again you're able to brake. I would always say, like energy, like any vehicle can just gain that speed, but then controlling the speed is what is more important. So if your vehicle you can get to gain momentum and all that, those tires as well, you need to be able to hold that kind of force when you need to brake. So that's still the primary other function of tires. Thirdly, changing and maintaining direction. So you get to a point when your tires are worn out, you're not able to steer, simply because the grip and traction on the road is lost, basically because your tires threads are completely worn out, or for some reason, tires as they age, they lose that ability to maintain grip as well. So that's another issue that you face when you're running on old tires. So it's not just about having threads being okay, because most people, I got somebody mentioned like what I'll do when I get an example, when I get to have a burst or a flat tire and the vehicle is not mine, I'll go for an old tire. Of course, the risk even with old tires is equally high as in as much as the threads could be looking good. Then there's an aspect of age of the tire. The fourth and the last for this, what I've just highlighted. This list is not conclusive, but I've just highlighted what is maybe will bring up a perspective into our discussion. Absorbing road shocks. Again, that's another function. Beside doing the supporting the weight, transferring the traction, changing the maintaining direction, those tires should absorb road as in unevenness. So in that's why you have a specific tire pressure for each vehicle, because if you overinflate, that tire stops to absorb any pressure, any shock on the road. And if you underdeflate, then the tire ends up now taking so much of the shock and ending up maybe getting the side bulges, tire burst, and even damaging the rim or many other components of the car. So basically, we'll work with those four functions, which are quite primary. There could be others that come along, but these are the functions that serves the vehicle, serves the vehicle. Into recommending a tire. Now, if you are to recommend a tire, many people will just call, like our case in our shops. For the time I've been dealing with tires, somebody will come and need a size 14, size 15. So, and you'll be quite confident that now I've given you the size. But technically, that's not even what you need, because there's so much into what you need to know about the tire size. So of course, we'll work with the diameters, which is always in inches. So there's a 15-inch, 14-inch. That's what you always know about the rims. Load capacity, that comes in handy when you're working with maybe heavy commercial or commercial cars mostly. And even some of these passenger cars and SUVs are quite sensitive when it comes to load capacity, because tire construction always, when the tires are manufactured, it's manufactured with a vehicle in mind. Like now, this vehicle should serve a given type of vehicle that does different kind of speeds or application. Now, the third point, application. Now, a vehicle, a passenger tire against a commercial tire or even agricultural or even industrial tires are quite different in terms of construction. So that's another aspect of. So when you come asking for a tire or even go looking for a tire, those are the kind of things you need to have in mind as well. What's the use of this car? Is it just for maybe a family car? Is it a daily running car that maybe it goes all kind of roads? So application goes into even off-roading. Is it a sports car? So that's another. It's a bit simple for our case. Much of the tires that we get locally, the minimum ratings and H rating covers from 180 on our roads. This is something maybe it can be considered. I've seen cases of red from different sources where maybe insurance companies may even decline to process your claims in case you get into an accident with tires that were not recommended. This even with the speed rating tires or any other application that now you didn't conform to the manufacturer specifications. So again, you see, but in our country, I did not see where I don't think we've got it there yet. Now, into what we're discussing about tire markings. So when you come asking for a tire, what information should you provide, or what do you need to know? Well, like I said, tires will have this is what we call tire size, coming from the aspect ratio. So the P, I would just go through it quickly. The P is always an abbreviation for a tire, which is a passenger. Some will come with a C, being commercial. So that just basically identifies this tire, that now this tire is basically for passenger vehicles. 60 is now, I've seen, just to explain a bit on this 60 value. 60 is a percentage, it's an aspect ratio, like as you've seen on the screen. It's not basically like now, if a tire has a 60 there, the figure is 60, and you get another tire with a 55, notwithstanding what is the number before it or after it, that those two tires will have different heights, depending on what is the value or the width of the tire, like 255 or 215. That's 60% of 255 and 60% or of 215. Those two tires will have different heights. So it's always when somebody maybe wants to come at higher profile, because they need to raise their cars. So somebody will come with a 55 rating asking for a 60, 70. For sure, if maintain the width, come lower with a higher profile, still you will have. I will expound further, maybe in the coming slides, what exactly the aspect ratio is what I'm talking about. Radial construction is there are two types of tires, radial and what you call biased. Biased is mostly for commercial, but the radial is good for handling. It handles better with speed, with tire control, vehicle control. So that's why most of the passenger vehicles, in fact, all tires and mostly tubeless, will have radial construction. That's the diameter, load index, speed symbol. So basically, those are just things we need to understand as well. Okay, now moving on to the speed symbol. So these are what I was mentioning too. This is corresponds to like from an HV, W, and all. This basically gives you an understanding of when what is the maximum speed that tire can handle comfortably without any like rupturing or bursting or excessive temperatures. So much of the tires that we have within our local market, or even what we imported, is 240 as a maybe on the extreme, on the higher ends we have the. So as the letters go to the like from W to Y to the Z, the higher the speed, the rating of the tire. Okay, now we talk of tubeless tires. Now almost all the vehicles are coming to, mostly all the modern cars are coming with the tubeless tires. Initially, we've had the tube kind of tire orientation, of which the preference nowadays has gone into the tubeless. You find almost all vehicles, maybe 9 out of 10 vehicles will find running on tubeless tires. Now, all these will have the generally radial, because the construction of radial can handle the flexing, and the flexing and the construction is more stronger than as in not the rigid. The bias construction has a rigid that can hold the tire will be firm, but then the comfort, you not get the comfort with the bias tires. But radial has that comfortness, which is desired in a passenger car. Advantages will come from they are lighter because they do not have a stronger sidewalls, so for it to flex easily and absorb those kind of road unevenness. They are safer if affected by a sharp object, because they're what we call the radial, which means the plies are at some are 45 degrees, 60 degrees, so that those ones, if something penetrates, it's not like it will cut along. Cannot create maybe a cut along in a straight line. So that makes it safer. If a nail or a sharp object, it will just penetrate through that small point, but not extend further than that. The risk of exploding not it up caused by friction, because for the construction of the radial construction, what I've explained there, that second point exactly applies on how those tires never get to have high temperatures running on them. Now, quickly into our topic. Now, now when talk of fuel economy, of course, tires will not give you 100% fuel economy. There's so much into in the vehicle systems, coming from engines, transmission, suspension. So all those contribute to whether you have a good fuel economy or a bad fuel economy. But now picking on one item, say now we have your engine is running quite well, you have just condition, you've kept your vehicle in the best possible condition. But what has happened in many times, people ignore tires, like how this one maybe contribute much to, or even the same way. I pointed out, people always replace tires based on if their corp will not maybe allow the court or not really based on their safety aspect of fuel economy as we are discussing now. So regardless of how much the component contributes, it doesn't matter, because saving every drop of that fuel will mean much to at the end of the day. Okay, so now when it comes to tires, when you fit a new tires, but then there's so much because tires you would expect maybe when you do a new set of tires, you expect maybe they'll give you averagely most tires 40,000, 50,000, up to even 80,000 kilometers. So within that 3-4 years that you will be running on those tires, what are you required of to keep in the best possible for you to achieve a proper fuel economy? Now, what affects the tires? What contributes to this fuel economy in tires is the rolling resistance. Now, that's basically I've just put a simple. I just picked up from somewhere this explanation that now is that resistance is the force at the axle in the direction of the travel. Now you see some of the vehicles, if you accelerate and maybe you get to some 80 km and you leave it, you maybe put even on neutral or even still on drive, but you're no longer braking or doing anything. For how long that vehicle roll naturally without any force is almost what we come to explain as rolling resistance. The tire, how fast it will just lose that momentum and want to be powered over again, what we explain as the rolling resistance of a tire. Now, when tires have quality specifications, these might help achieve multiple issues about the rolling resistance. Like now, a case, and there's 35% of fuel consumption is caused by that rolling resistance. So you find a similar tire, you could find the same tire 195, 65, 15 from different manufacturers, but then somebody will just point out maybe from a physical look or even carrying them maybe side by side, you find one tire is heavier than the other. So the question comes, which one will you give will give you a better economy? But I've seen most people choose the heavier tires with the assumption that now that will give them longer maybe service life. They can, as in they are more tough. So that assumption may not be true based on the tire construction, whether it's a premium tire or the origin of how the tire was manufactured. So not all tires that have maybe a thicker sidewalls are bound to give you longer life or even good fuel economy, because that same tire that's twice big or twice as heavier or maybe as heavy as the other will mean the vehicle has to use almost twice as much of power for it to keep it rolling or keep it in motion. Now, to the exact factors that affect fuel economy. I hope I'm not moving too fast. Are you all in the same page? So that it doesn't look like in lecture room. Fine. I'll just go through this content, then at the end of it, hope someone will take note of any concern that we can bring it up at the end of it. Now, of course, we've discussed a couple of in previous slides. Tire construction. Now, the less weight on wheels, the lower the rolling resistance, as we've explained. Thus, was the entry side will be less fuel that you need to have that vehicle to move. Again, but then the lighter the tires, again, some of the tires, the sidewalls are quite light. They end up to be prone to be being pricked by anything, nails, or whatever other thing that will come along on the roads, or even being so prone to you hit a curb and you have a bulge or maybe a burst. So again, they should be while manufacturers are designing these tires, they should hit a middle ground on where they could achieve a proper fuel economy, but then ensure the safety of the tire and even the service life. Now, third pattern, while again somebody is looking for tires, they always want to check maybe a pattern that maybe appeals to their eyes, or maybe just good looking. But what does that have to do with maybe the rolling resistance? You've seen these tires, which are maybe directional tires. They have a given pattern of, and you've seen even now, if you compare this like with this Formula Ones, those tires are almost with no grip. That has ensured to make sure that now there's almost zero rolling resistance on the tires, because again, with those tread patterns and the rubber on the tires contribute to almost 60%, as you've seen on these statistics. So that again has to be reduced to ensure at one point you do not have so much grip at the expense of having an uneconomical kind of tires. Again, the size of the tire. Again, as you move higher, as you change your tire sizes, say from 215, 5 to 17, something higher, because you will be increasing your overall diameter of the circumference of the tire. So you're picking your 0 to 60 or 0 to 100 kind of the time that you will take to achieve the same speed that you used to do with your original tires will change. So much of the time, people will want to have this vehicle perform as before. In the long run, you end up burning more fuel, because this vehicle will be struggling to achieve that similar speed that you used to do with the old tires. So a reduced width of about 1 centimeter gives about 1.5% of aerodynamic resistance. So again, changing of tires is not something you just want to get to a shop and say, I need tires. It has to be match up your aerodynamic performance of your car and even this fuel economy topic that you're talking about. Now, this is a most ignored issue of tires. If you ask randomly how often people check their tire pressures, they only check when they have a flat tire, or maybe they're in a. Initially, people used to check when they are fueling, but then most of the times you find these gas stations, they have their pressure points, maybe have queues and all that, so people ignore. But in the long run, inflate the tire can increase the vehicle's consumption by 10%. 10%, if you have to say, maybe if for a full tank you do about 500 kilometers, what is 10% of that? That's about 50 kilometers. So you see how just randomly by you working on that figure, 50 kilometers is you could maybe need a fuel of about this maybe how much, maybe how many liters. So even maybe your vehicle does 10 kilometers per liter, so you need 5 liters. 5 liters about 500. So that are a very quick calculation on our assumption on the figures. Also, pressure drop by 1 bar has about 40 psi, increases the rolling resistance. And mind you, by the time you're having this kind of low pressure, that's tire life. You'll already be having any rough flat damages your sidewalls. You'll have your tire overheating. The next minute, your tire disintegrates into an unserviceable tire. So the next, you just find out have to buy another tire. So that's really, there's so much about tire pressure that needs to. If you do your tire pressure, maybe say after 2 weeks, if that would be a good enough as long as you can maintain the recommended tire pressures and you achieve this proper fuel economy. Third wear. Now, thread wear means as tires get to wear, the more fuel you may need to use, simply because since you are losing traction on the road, that means there's some level of slippage on your wheels that now the vehicle is encountering because there's no sufficient traction and grip on the road surface. So with that, that power is already lost because the tires are spinning. Eventually, the same fuel that you use will be to use maybe for your 10 kilometers or 50 kilometers, you may need to you realize that now all these kept the engine is still running fine. Or the tires are the one low there. So that's exactly what you will end up with. To tire maintenance. Now wheel alignment. Now after you've done, you say you have new tires. How important is wheel alignment when it comes to because wheel alignment, if your tires are not aligned very well, there's so much drag, there's so much unevenness between, like one tire is facing to the left, another is facing to the right. So with that distance by itself will increase your gas mileage by 10%. Again, that already, with that, your tires are wearing out badly. So you're losing on the tires. This means if your tires aren't adjustable, the engine has to push harder with the vehicle. Proper wheel alignment. Your tire wearing out unevenly. Now it's a risk into a safety issue. Or you've seen tires that will wear completely until even the steel belt is exposed, and with that, the next minute we'll have a tire burst. These are just I don't know whether I wish maybe I could not have put the explanations for each of the pictorial here, that now for us to understand what kind of the signs of bad poor alignment, or in terms of what vehicles will have, what kind of alignment, because people always have gone up, just like our case, where I work, people just come, I need alignment, but then exactly what it's bound to assist or help you with is what people do not understand. So most vehicles will have the toe in, toe out. That's when you've changed your rack ends or tie rod ends. So when tires are not like perpendicular facing to the front, say facing inward, that will be toe in. Toe out will be the exact opposite of that. And how you notice that, you'll find the edges or the shoulders of your tires wearing out more than the inner or the outer wearing out more. Like for the case of toe in, the outer side of your tires will be wearing out, like feathering. You see like maybe there's a sharp object that went over your shoulders of your tires. On the case of the toe out, you find the feathering out. In that case, clearly that's an indication. And even how the comfortability of that vehicle to drive is not good. You don't even feel maybe for a shorter distance, you will struggle so much to drive such a vehicle which its alignment is off. I would now, what are the benefits of tire maintenance? Correct inflation, alignment, wheel balancing, rotation. Of course, that achieves our primary discussion, reducing fuel consumption, because you get better handling, maximizing your tire life. It's a safety issue because once your tires are properly inflated, you have proper wheel alignment, then you are safe because you do not foresee any issues with maybe tire burst or maybe hitting or maybe your tires wearing out, busting. And of course the comfort, because when you have proper inflation, that feeling of bumpy ride or maybe damaging your shocks because of the too stiff, the stiffness of your tires, eventually you get a better comfort. These are what exactly you results from low tire pressure to against what happens when you have a high tire pressure. Because with tires without on the shoulders, because the center side of the tire will buckle in, so much of the load will be carried by the either sides of the tire. That is clearly how you will tell when the tire taking so much load. Eventually, there's no uniform rolling on the road. So the tires like also the trains can feel at over 100 kilometers from high speed. Tire life will be shorter, so that's definite, and of course fuel consumption will go higher. On the flip side of it, when you have high tire pressures, the center of the tire will be the one wearing out because the tire will curve out because of excess pressure. Tires will easily slip because the surface area has been reduced. So with the reduced surface area, there are chances of you losing traction on the road because of the curve of the tires. Of course, the other possibilities an explosion because any on your tire that pressure will try to escape in a very easy way. So they find an easy way out, and anything small as a nail will cause a burst. Of course, the other thing is the mechanical problems because these tires will be quite bumpy. So in case instead of absorbing the shock, all your bushes, your mounting, and everywhere that now as a say the shock towers begin to give in because nothing is absorbing the road unevenness because the tires are the pressures are too high. How do you rotate tires? This way to rotate tires, maybe for an all-wheel drive, a rear wheel. Now, rotation gives a chance of your tires to wear out evenly. You've seen case of all a set of 4 tires fitted at the same time, the front ones wearing out sooner than the rear ones, depending whether the vehicle is a front wheel or a rear wheel. So this gives a chance of your tires to wear out evenly in the same period. So the next time you're going to get your set of tires, you not have a scenario that now you'll have new tires against maybe getting to buy 2 tires, and yet you had initially purchased them at the same time. So what we always recommend is a period between 5,000 and 10,000 kilometers as the most recommended time period where you could do a rotation. Basically, now if you are doing your service, maybe after 5,000 kilometers will be the best time. If you are doing after 10,000, that will be the other ideal time to do tire rotation. All these are intended towards achieving still proper fuel economy, because when all your tires have uniform traction, then you don't have any issue about your rolling resistance. Because wheel alignment, still going back to the reasons why it is and what exactly it is. So alignment is just adjusting the angles, and this has to be done to the specifications of the manufacturer. Not every other vehicle can be adjusted as any other. Maybe two different vehicles adjust in a similar manner. Every vehicle has its own set of parameters that it has to be adjusted to. If you use a different, then you're already messing your alignment, and it will not be back to the manufacturer's specifications. Now, how often do you do your wheel alignment? Now, the most recommended time is about 10,000 kilometers again, and this subject to like the kind of terrains you've been running on. For most of, if you do so much off-road, chances are, because the suspension is flexing and so much is happening with your suspension, it could be range between 10,000 to 20,000 or annually. Also, when you feel that your vehicle is pulling to either left or right, that's a proper time as well to do your alignment. The steering feels heavy. Now that's when maybe your caster adjustment, or just another kind of adjustment, feels heavy, is when it's the ideal time as well, or the time you need to check. And again, when you have your tires wearing out unevenly. Balancing, there's some vehicles when you get to some speeds, but they're what we call jittering. Wobbling. When a vehicle gets to 80 kilometers per hour or 100, you feel so much of vibration in the steering. That is an indication that your tires are off balance. So balancing is always done after changing your tires, once you do a new set of tires, or once you do rotation, because once the rear tires, like when you change the position of your tires, those tires will initially were wearing as per the orientation of the position the vehicle were. Like now, front tires, you find much of the time they'll wear on the side because of the cornering forces and all that. So when you change those tires to the rear, it's ideal that now you do balancing. Or after any repair, say you do a puncture repair and you have demounted your tire, definitely it's a time to do balancing. Also, anytime you feel like the vehicle is wobbling at some speeds, it's also ideal to do balance. Now, just to conclude, I don't know, this has come too soon. Manufacturers have already embraced different fuel. Now tires nowadays are coming in with manufacturers are coming in with tires that are like more fuel efficient, because much of the focus currently is on reducing fuel, getting good economy with your tire. Like a case of Bridgestone, they have a range of that are really focused on the marketing and how they market tires. They market on the platform that now they are very fuel. They are friendly on. They're quite economical on fuel, and also there's one on metering called Energy Saver. So that's just to mention a few which already manufacturers are focusing their engineering and manufacturing processes towards getting tires that are quite friendly on the owners and the users' pockets. Other manufacturers continue to develop new tires, again, that which are on that, because tires with more natural rubber are more economical on fuel than this synthetic rubber, because those are heavier than the natural rubber. So we find most of these high-end tires, they are manufactured using natural rubber, and that's why we find them maybe more expensive. And that's the same reason somebody would ask why maybe some tires are more expensive than the others. But then it comes to those kind of attributes that ends up that are focused on saving on safety, fuel saving, long giving you long service and such like. Okay. That's so much for the much we've for this topic. I would be open to now. There, back to you. If I see so much in the chat box.
Thank you so much, Elmond, for sharing. So that was so much informative, and I've definitely learned a lot about tires. And yeah, when you look at the chat, some of the people, some people are sharing what their take home today. And I was asking people if they have any question. Yeah, so I have a question from Harun. So it asks, how do you do tire rotation? Yeah, how? Yeah, you don't know what you mean, but you can unmute yourself. I believe it's how do you do tire rotation, right?
Now, the most acceptable way of doing tire rotation, in the first, like, because the recommendation we've given out is after 10,000 kilometers. So in the first instance, you do straight, like you could do maybe start with the diagonal swapping. Say now front left to rear right, rear left to front right. That's a diagonal swap. After the next 10,000, you do a direct rear right to the front right, rear left to the front left. Basically that. So that though this is just workable with the vehicles which have non-directional tires, but for vehicles which have directional tires, which I mean, there are vehicles which tires have just there's an arrow on the side of the tire that gives a definite position where the tires have to be. So the moment you take that vehicle, the left tire, the right side, the direction changes. So those kind of tires, we just have to be rotated in a straightforward, in a back and rear, back and front position. Again, there are some European vehicles that come with different tires at the back and much of these BMWs and all that. Rotation for those kind of vehicles could be just rear, left and right. So basically, so there's not really, they are quite, you could see in my presentation, it always goes into which kind of drivetrain vehicles they are having, which kind of tires are you running on. So from that, you can best advise based on that.
Thank you so much. I hope you're able to, your question was answered, Harun. If not, you can ask again. You can unmute yourself or raise up your hand and be able to ask again.
Okay.
And
Okay.
okay, thank you. Okay, I have another question from Kelvin. Kevin asks, if my wheels are not the same size, is it still advisable to do the rotation?
Sorry?
If my wheels are not the same size, is it still advisable to do the rotation?
Fine. I do not know what exactly, not the same size as per manufacturers, as per manufacturers, how the vehicle was manufactured, or maybe since for some reason maybe the vehicle has been fitted with wrong, maybe different tire sizes. But if the case, if the first case is
it's actually typed.
Yeah, it's typed here.
Check on the chat.
Oh, my front wheels are 185/60 R15, and the rear is 195/65 R15. Fine. So you find that those front tires are narrower than, so eventually even the height of those two tires are different. In one way or the other, if this vehicle is a two-wheel drive or four-wheel drive, you can still do the rotation. I would not. The only challenge is some of the tires, if two-wheel drive, fine, okay, fine. So this can still be rotated. I don't find an issue with that. You can do a rotation because if you can imagine, if maybe the original tires were 185/60 R15, maybe if those were the original tires, and for some reason you may not find those tires locally, so you chose to to fit 2 tires, so those tires can be fitted as long as on the same axle. Same axle, I mean, either from the front or the rear. That should be okay.
Thank you for that. And we now have a question from, so he says, thank you. Yeah, so Atinda asks a question. Why don't you just voice it, if you don't mind?
All right, okay. How do you know the manufacturer's recommendation of the tires that we're supposed to use?
Now, manufacturer's recommendations are always, if not on there's always a placard or a sticker on the driver's door. That's mostly for, I would say, maybe most of the Asian vehicles, Japanese. When you get to European, on the fuel cap, when like that cap that you open up before you filling, you find tire specifications and giving even to the tire pressures. And then in many cases, you even find those specifications are given from maybe the vehicle can fit in a size 17-inch rim, an 18-inch, a 19-inch, and even for the pressure, when you're loaded, you're just normal capacity. So those specifications you'll find them on those locations, either on the driver's door, either on they always call the air pillar, or on the fuel cap. Those are the most areas that manufacturers have always put the information.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you so much. I hope you that answers your question, Atinda.
But again, maybe so something. Sorry, just cut you. Again, nowadays most of the things have gone online. There's a site called wheelsize.com, which for sure it gives exactly what the manufacturers have recommended for each vehicle. So you go put in your vehicle model from maybe the model, the make, model, year of manufacture. So it will give you, depending now, maybe if it's a 205 model, it will give you that vehicle you can fit a 15-inch, 16-inch, as the year advances, say maybe a 2013, 2014. You find maybe some have already included maybe a 15-inch, but all those will be the recommendations as per the manufacturers. So you can always check online as well, a site called wheelsize.com, and it will be, you can always get all the information you require about your tire recommendations.
Okay, we now have a question from Duncan.
Some question.
Yeah. So what is the right pressure for tires that has maximum of 60 psi and minimum of 35?
Now, tire pressure recommendation is based on the vehicle itself. You'll find a tire has a maximum. Whatever is written on the tire is just for the purpose of safe pressure that the tire can handle. But then different, like same one tire like 195, 6515 fitted on maybe an Axio will have maybe a pressure of 32 as recommended. If you do an Subaru, they could recommend 35 based on the weight and the handling, and based on the different manufacturer recommendations. So what I would say is tire pressure recommendation is manufacturer specific. It's not on the tire itself. What you see on the tire is just a safety precautions that now that the tire should not be inflated beyond 51 psi, 70 psi. But then when you want to know how much pressure you have to inflate that tire, it's on the vehicle itself, not on the tire. I hope I'm clear on that.
I hope your question is answered, Duncan.
Yes.
Yeah, okay. So thank you so much, and I hope that's everyone. I hope I've covered everyone's question. I'm not leaving anyone behind. So on finishing up, I'm going to give it back to my co-host, Teo, who's going to conclude for us.
Thank you very much, Akinyi. This has been very informative. Thank you very much, Edmond, and all of us who've attended. I believe we've all learned something, and we've become champions in this topic, in this area. So I just like to inform you that we have tires online. If you'd like to shop, we are Autovine. You can just check our page, Facebook, Instagram. We have an offer right now whereby for every tire you fit, you get a free wheel alignment and wheel balancing. So you can check out our website and feel free to make your orders. So I think I'd like us to conclude this meeting. Yeah, it's way past time, but I believe we have learned something new today. So thank you very much. Akin, you can wind up.
Yeah, so I want to actually thank also everyone for attending this meeting. So I know yes, it's supposed to be family time, but thank you for creating time to attend this meeting. So I'm going to finalize our meeting by our word of prayer. So let's believe and pray. Our kind and ever living Master, thank you for this opportunity and thank you for helping us learn more about trials. I pray that you continue being with us through the night. And I pray that it will be done in our lives because I pray this short and humble prayer, trusting and believing in the name of your Son, Jesus Christ, our Lord and Savior. Amen. Thank you so much, everyone. Thank you.
Thanks everyone as well.
Shukran, thank you.
Thank you. Have a good night.
Good night.
Thank you. Good night.
Good night. Thank you.
Good night, everyone.
Good night.
Que vou, não check.
Hey, boss. Nice job. Thanks, job. Good night.
Good night.
Good night. Thank you, everyone. Yeah, feel free to leave the meeting.
Tire control, vehicle control.